Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck out at Sheraton Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. So a time-honored tradition in the mountains of North Carolina and in a lot of places was what was called hog killing. And usually around Thanksgiving, 3 or 4 families would get together and they would kill a couple of hogs so that everybody would have meat to eat for the year. Well, it's not Thanksgiving and we don't have 3 or 4 families, but we got plenty of pigs. So today we're going to show you we've taken a couple of our feeder hogs to a local processor to have them slaughtered and split into halves. So we got 4 halves to work up. This was a requested video. It's going to end up being a little bit of a series. So today, Saundra's going to show you how to break a hog side, half of a pig, down into primals, the primal cuts. So hang around with us for a little bit. We got her on video, and she's pretty good at this. This is kind of her specialty, her forte. So let's show you how to break a hog side down into primals.
Eat your Wheaties next time.
Them some big old pigs.
Them some nice pigs. They're heavier than they look. You start trying to sling them around. You figure out real quick.
So the small one was 150 pounds and the big one was what?
260.
260, 265.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm tired now.
Wait. How you doing?
I'm tired now. Things heavy.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about cutting a half a pig into its primal parts. And that consists of 3 sections. The front leg section from here forward and the back leg section from here back. And on this half, we're going to be doing the European cut of the front leg, which means we're going to go from the first rib all the way back between 6th and 7th rib. And the reason we're doing that is because I want to save the copa muscle out of this Boston butt to make a sopressata. So that's why we're cutting this one this way. But we're going to end up with 3 sections of this hog. And in a future video, we will go through each section, explaining the parts, boning them out, or cutting the chops. But we're waiting on a piece of equipment to be able to do that. So once we get these into primals, they're going to go into the freezer. So when you get a split hog like this from your slaughterhouse, you'll notice that they'll leave the kidney. And that is the sign of a healthy animal. And what will happen is when they split this animal open, the USDA inspector will come in and open up this kidney and look at it and make sure it's healthy. And if it's not, they can, if they so choose, can condemn this whole animal. But this is a healthy animal. We've got a good kidney, so I'm going to take that out. And then the next thing I want to show you is this is part of the diaphragm, which in a beef would be called the hanger steak. And then underneath that, right in here, underneath this roll of fat would be the tenderloin, which would be the same thing as the fillet in a cow. The other thing I want you to see is this layer of fat here. This is called the leaf fat of a hog. And this is what is so prized to bakers and pastry makers. This fat is very pure. When it's rendered down into lard, it doesn't really have any flavor at all, and that's why pastry makers like it. It makes a very flaky crust. It's not like back fat that you see here, that you would call this fat back, and folks will rub this with salt and pepper and cure it and use it as seasoning for beans and pintos, but this is what bakers and pastry makers like. So I'm going to take this diaphragm muscle out here, and this will go in the grind for sausage. And we're real careful right here once we get close to the tenderloin. And then this fat will usually, and the colder it is, the better it'll come off, but it will just peel right out. So if you're a producer like we are, and you ever have a customer come up and ask you for leaf fat, that's what they're looking for. And in a beef, this would be called the caul fat. So now you see, we can see the rib cage very well here. So this section up here would be the baby back. This section down here would be the spare rib. And right here now we can start to see the tenderloin. You can see it running right through there. So the next thing we're going to do is take off the feet or the trotters, and we're going to go just above the joint here at the front leg, about right there. So I'm going to take my knife and cut the skin and the meat. And that gives me a good landmark for my saw. And then I'll pull it over to the edge here and just break it down. There you go. So on the back leg, we're going to go just above that joint. So the next cut we're going to make is we're going to separate the front quarter from the loin section. And I'm going to be doing the European cut on this front quarter simply because I want to be able to get the entirety of the copa muscle so I can do what's called a capicola. And so we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to make my cut here between the 6th and 7th rib. Just like this, and go all the way to the block. And then I'll use my saw to go through the spine and the breastbone. So I've got through the bone there, so I want to stop with my saw and go back to the knife. And so there is my front quarter. So as you can see, when we look at this in cross section, we've gotten into the loin a little bit. And that's what we want when we do the European style cut. This is what we're after. And it runs all the way forward here. And that's what we want. In the American cut of this section, you would count 1, 2, and cut either between ribs 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. That's the American style of separating the front quarter from the loin section. And that gives you a little more belly, and it also gives you more of the rib. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the ham off of this pig, and we've switched sides with me and the camera so we can see this a little better. So what we're looking at right here is called the H-bone, A-I-T-C-H, the H-bone, and that's basically the pelvic floor of a hog. And everybody talks about, this is off topic, but everybody talks about when female hogs have trouble having babies and they have a piglet get stuck. Right here's where they're getting stuck, between their spine and that H-bone. So you see there's not much tolerance there. Okay, so we're going to go 2 finger widths above the H-bone. And that's where I'm going to, I think I'll make a mark first so I can see it. Right there. And the way we want to cut this is we want to be perpendicular to the long axis of this ham. So this is about my angle here. Okay, so you hear the difference in the sound of the saw. So we've gotten through the pelvic bone, and that's when we want to stop using the saw. We want to go back to the knife because the saw just causes a lot of dust, bone dust. So I'm going to go back to my blade and go down to the block and all the way back. And then I am going to trim this belly just a little right here. And that's what we want the ham to look like. So just to summarize, how much did this hog weigh hanging? 264 pounds? So this was about 125 pound side, and we've reduced it to its 3 primal cuts. And you can see here we have our ham, we have our loin section, which also has the belly on it, and then we have our front section, which is the Boston butt and the picnic shoulder.
Okay, we got it in there. That is breaking that hog side. Actually, we ended up doing it 4 different times because there were 4 halves. So that's breaking a hog side down into primals. So coming up on some future videos, like Saundra said, we've got some equipment that's on the way. We're going to show you how to start cutting that thing up into individual cuts. And this is all for personal and family use. This is not anything that's going to be for retail sale. For us to sell retail products like this, they have to be done packaged, vacuum sealed, and all that kind of thing at a USDA inspected facility. So none of this is for sale. This is all for personal and private use. But, you know, this was something that we've been wanting to do. You know, we're kind of thinking about being more self-sufficient. We grow a lot of food here, and just, you know, growing our own and having our own stuff, doing some different things that you can't get at a processor. You know, she's going to do some special sausages and salamis and that kind of thing out of this. And, you know, to get that stuff done, you got to send your meat off and have it done at, you know, different places. And we're just, you know, we want to do it ourselves. But anyway, I think that's going to do it. Stay tuned. There's going to be some more videos following this with more instruction. Like I said, this was a requested video, and if there's something that you'd like to see, leave me a comment down below. We'll be glad to try to include that on a video in the future. But like we always say, please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.